Hello, guys. Welcome back to the ED show. We've got another guest tonight, Tara Wells. Don't know if you want to introduce yourself.
Don't use my surname.
Oh, God.
It's good to meet you, Tara, and have you on the show and everything else. And the purpose of tonight's show is because we want to look at what happened this week with it's gained national exposure. I wouldn't be surprised if it's gained international exposure for what we saw with the care home sort of scenario with the mum and daughter, where they were picking up Nan out of the care home. And I know you can help us with a bit that to look at it objectively. And
I'd certainly say so. Did you both watch the interviews that I sent to you?
I haven't been sent any interviews.
You watched them, didn't you, Dal?
Yeah. To be fair, I didn't quite have enough time to send them back.
No, they were quite long. Yeah.
But I've watched them, and I will be honest with you. Out of the two that you sent me, because I don't normally watch either program, especially Piers Morgan. I find that to tell you the truth, I hold him in contempt usually, but because what I don't like, he doesn't give people an opportunity to speak.
He doesn't. You are right,
and that's what I dislike, because Piers was a talented sort of guy at one stage at interviewing, and he give people an opportunity, and now it just seems to be about him. And
ego.
People don't.
Egocentrical.
I couldn't have put it better, because that's literally what it is ego, and I just don't like that. But
because you can't fight back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And to tell you the truth, when I watch it, my emotions tend to be boiling, because he's not giving somebody. Look, there's plenty of people I may disagree with, but they've got a blinking opportunity to speak and say what they want to say, and that's what frustrates me, that he doesn't do that. And without giving him too much airtime, when I watched Holly and Phil, when the mum started speaking. About her emotions and why she actually just caught hold of her mum and gave her a cuddle. I'll be honest with you, I'm not too ashamed to say it. That's when tears came down my eyes, because I just couldn't believe it. That's what hit me. That was the hitting moment for me. I thought, cheers, Tara. Thank you for sending me that.
I think you just give a wider context on the little tiny clip.
Well, if any of you are interested in seeing what makes Daryl cry, I'll link the videos in the description.
I do not. We should just play it and just watch Daryl cry for the whole thing.
Well, maybe.
That sounds like a great idea.
Don't worry, he'll be crying later on anyway.
Right. So,
do you want to share your views first? What you thought?
I'm happy to. I mean, to tell you the truth, these draconian lockdown measures, I totally agree with the young lady on there talking about her grandmother. We got to exercise some common sense over fear. And as much as I get people want to look out for people, as much as I get all of that, and I really, really do. Personally, I'm not bought into this virus shenanigans, but for the ones that do, I respect, how they feel. But to have these sort of measures, with a 97-year-old lady, and exactly what, again, Phil Schofield said, at 97, what, you're not expecting anybody to live another 30, 40 years. Great if she can live as long as she can, but it's the quality of life that she's got left. And, to see her daughter almost breaking down on the telly, because now they've got the notion of mum being in a bed for 2 weeks, virtually alone. And then they're talking about that she's got 2 hours, it takes 2 hours to feed her because she's got dementia. And from my point of view, I just think, well, we've just got to exercise some common sense. You know, we're on about a loving family here. They want to take mum home and nan home and look after her.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, I can't see a problem with that. And I thought my life is my choice.
Yeah.
I am a child of God. I believe in God, and I believe there is God's choice. And I genuinely, and whether you agree with that or whether you don't, I do think that these technocrats that you got in Westminster that are creating mandates in municipal buildings and legislations, like Boris Johnson has created 3,000 laws and bylaws since he's been in power, and it's ridiculous.
Some for the
Absolutely
good and
ridiculous.
some for pointless.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, the government, and you may have heard this before in Parliament, they govern by consent. And right now, I don't see many people consenting to this, especially to what we saw in that video. Difficult situation for the police, difficult situation I can get for the care home because they got a duty of care. I have briefly worked a bit with social services.
Yeah.
Where I did a job with social services for a very short period of time. I couldn't handle it.
No.
And I understand when somebody elderly has got a care package, or anybody vulnerable has a care package, you can't just turn it off and on. I get that, and I get that people got a duty of care, but there has to be some sort of common ground to this, and that's what I think the lesson should be about the lockdowns and about what they do with care for the future, because it hasn't been reviewed in such a long time. And that's it really from me, other than I'm furious.
But for different reasons. I'll let you two.
Yeah, I was just going to say that personally, I think it's another case of the police holding to the rules so doggedly and without any sort of awareness of what they're doing and how it impacts other people. They're just interested in following out procedure, not really looking at the broader picture, which has led to, terrible problems in the last century. And I wouldn't want anything to happen like that again. So that sort of thinking, I think it's important to point out when something like that is happening, so that we can tackle it and get rid of any of them darn dirty fascists. Anyway, I'll let you talk.
Okay. So the issue that you have there is this little thing called lasting power of attorney. Now, you watched the video, I don't know which video it was on, Daryl, but lasting power of attorney basically gives somebody, you're signing over your rights to another person to basically to decide anything in your life, okay? Now, as they said in this interview, her late father didn't see any point in doing that with her, because her faculties were all there, she could speak, but sadly that's not what it's about. So unless somebody has that in place, which sadly it's the law, then the family kind of, they decide, and social services kind of go along with that. But it's very, very hard when it comes to, if you don't have that and then somebody becomes particularly ill, or they need to go into a care home, that's when the family and social services have to work together. But that also means that social services then they're basically the main carer for that person, family or not. They become the main carer, or to make sure it is a good thing as well, because there are so many different types of abuse and we just don't think about it, and that can happen to somebody in their home. My personal opinion on social services as a whole is not great, having worked in care for a long time and that sort of thing, and I think they're pretty ineffective. not social workers themselves, but I think the whole system is just, there's not enough money, there's not enough time, it's overrun, almost like care and hospitals. The problem you have in COVID is, especially in care homes, things like that, they have to follow those restrictions. So for us, we can believe what we like. We can believe that, you know, whatever we believe. We don't have to wear face masks if we don't want to wear them, you know, whatever somebody says. But when it comes to a place like that, they kind of have to follow the rules. But not only because of COVID, but because of what that person has in place. And that became the problem when, as she said in the interview, that she couldn't take it any longer and she removed her mother there and then. So then, as you can see, the care home has a duty of care and they're legally responsible for her, as are social services. So the situation around it is just rubbish because the family's hands are tied, the care home's hands are tied, and it's just a big legal ball, basically. So what happened with them would have happened regardless of COVID. If they had have just gone in, you know, taken her out, regardless of COVID, the police would have been called just through duty of care. So, and I think through COVID, it's been harder because obviously you don't get to see your loved ones. But there are a lot of different things that were said in the interviews that made me bite my tongue a little bit. But I don't know how you feel about that. So that's what I mean. It's around the law there. That's where their troubles kind of begin. If they were to say to the social worker and the home, right, we're going to take her out for a week, or you know, put those things into place of, right, okay, we want to care for her at home, then that's agreed upon. But you can't take somebody, however much I would love people to just be able to take their relatives home and just be able to care for them themselves, there then becomes that legal thing where you can't.
I think there's a fundamental difference in political view here, because I think the thing with me and Daryl is that we're more sort of anarchic, possibly. You know, we think if a law sounds stupid in one instance, then you should be able to, then you should just be able to disregard it without any, you know, punitive measures.
It is. Yeah, it is a stupid, archaic thing, but then it also does prevent against those abuses.
Yeah.
If you were to send a child to a daycare, if somebody were to just come pick them up out of the blue, they haven't had any warning about somebody coming to pick them up, we'd go, oh, we need to call the police. This person's just taken a child out of daycare without any, you know, and I know that's not the situation. And like I said, I've worked in care. I could never let my family go into care homes. I think that what they do is they try, most people try and care for those people as best they can and give as much attention. And, you know, sadly, once they're in that system, it's just hands are tied.
Bit of a quagmire.
Rubbish. Yeah, I mean, it's awful. But, and not to sound mean, but I wish they had have cared for her to start with. That sounds very judgmental and mean, but if you then want to take somebody home and care for them, and understand the situation is very different there, but why didn't you do that? You know, I know it sounds really horrible.
I can guarantee people are I can guarantee people are asking that question.
Perhaps it's a valid point.
And perhaps the family have got really good reasons for why they haven't.
Lifestyles change, you know. it depends. I understand lifestyles change, people work. It's about whether you feel like you can adequately care for your loved one in that period of time, giving them the level of care that they need, you know.
Well,
And social services would then still be involved, but you are the primary carer, so you decide.
Do you think the law needs reform, or?
I think it needs to be changed in a way that actually, you know, it doesn't work for a lot of people, quite frankly. It does save from a lot of abuse. You know, financial abuse is one of the biggest things. People in the community where a neighbour or something will say, you know, well, we'll keep an eye on them. You know, my grandparents do the same for their neighbours. They're all kind of elderly, but my grandparents are, you know, a bit more, they're young for their age. And a lot of it goes on because that person allows you to go and take money out of their account for different things, lets you go shopping for different things. And there was a big case around here where a couple basically got sent to prison because they really, really rinsed this lady. You know, they had new cars, they had big holidays. So in some ways, the law works, but then there needs to be changes for things like this.
Well, one of the things I picked up on there, which I wanted to go back to, because I didn't know if you knew about this. I don't know about this either. So I want to kind of like thought shower, if we like, between the three of us. When you mentioned power of attorney, because obviously Dad was alive first, and then but Mum was fine, and everything else like that. I'm just wondering if she ended up in the care system initially, because, you know, it's like they didn't put anything in place. They didn't realise, you know, for that sort of thing. And I just wondered if the family just from the get-go never had a choice with.
And isn't that a hard thing? Because realistically, you know, my grandparents are getting older. Alzheimer's, you know, so kind of creeps up slowly, and then suddenly it's kind of there. So at what point do you say to one person, it's all, to your relative, it's almost, it could be a bit offensive. Because somebody said to me when I was elderly, you know, because that means taking control of everything. So their finances, their care decisions, you know, I think it's a hard thing to accept yourself. If your family were to say that, you'd think, well, no, I'm capable of caring for why should I give you control over what I do? But then if that isn't in place, this is where these issues come to, you know, it's where these issues come from, become harder, should I say.
Yeah.
Well,
topic.
Does anyone want to say some final? I think what we'll do is we'll split this into a two-part video. So do the reactions in a separate video, just because this is getting quite in depth. I don't know if anyone wants to say any final thoughts or anything like that, and then we'll end it there.
I would just say that I completely agree with them. I think everybody should be at home with their family. I never, you know, I'd love for that to happen. I don't think anybody should, you know, be distanced. But what I didn't like is the way that they seemed so, you know, it was all about them, you know, and it's not just about them. Everybody in that care home has to go to that standard, you know. So even the staff going in, you know, they don't want to be under those measures, you know. They're, whether we believe COVID, okay, or things around it, those care workers are also going in every day. They might not, you know, my sister's pregnant and she's going in every day. And it's kind of like, if this thing is real or hyped, you know, she's then putting herself at risk as well. You know, it's unfair on all parties, not just them.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And to tell you the truth, one of the things that I find fascinating, and I would like your viewpoint on this just before we wrap it up, is what you think about the term social distancing.
well, it's a bit ridiculous, isn't it? How can you be social and distance?
Well, exactly. I mean, I
Unless we get
genuinely
popcorns.
believe, heart and heart. I mean, I know everybody else has got their different views, but I genuinely believe this is about nothing other than a few little fat cats in Westminster. No one would trust a politician normally. No one. If you asked anybody in the UK, do you trust these bastards? It's no. 100% no.
No.
And right now, everybody's been hoodwinked and fear-mongered into this.
Yeah.
Very convenient then for a few fat cats to earn a few quid. There's PPE being sold left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
I wonder
And
where
not
the
giving in
First
depth.
week of lockdown, 34 quid for 5 masks in Superdrug.
Oh, do you know, I saw it even better. My chemist was doing a deal, right? You could get 50 masks for £48.
That's better. I mean, that's better.
it's better value.
That's better value.
You're getting £2 off. I mean,
Yeah,
deal.
that's
And
still
of
a
course, this
proper
mask,
piss
you know, that's a whole debate in itself, and that's probably a whole show on its own. You know,
well, there's not much debate if you look at the scientific
no.
findings about it.
Yeah, if that was a thing, it would have been done from the beginning.
Yeah, I agree.
When things were astronomical.
But, you know, I'll always say this is a buyer beware network. If you want to listen to the BBC and be fear-porned, if you want to listen to ITV and be fear-porned, feel free. I think the BBC stands for the British Brainwash Channel, and I'd say defund the bastards.
No, you're wrong there, mate. You're wrong. It's the British Bullshit Channel.
Oh, sorry, the British Bullshit Channel, yeah. And when you've got a paedophile statue outside and they know exactly what it is, Broadcasting House, and they won't tear it down, as far as I'm concerned, they can go and do one and all.
And we pay for that bullshit, which is fantastic.
It is.
I don't.
When I watch a documentary on the BBC, it's like, do you have a TV license?
To be fair, that series, that comedy series Ghosts is pretty good. So, you know, it's
I'm a big fan of Luther, so you know.
Yeah. Right. Bit of a dark one, but come back for part 2 and it will be a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Right. Bye, guys.
Bye.